Welcome back to another day, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Dee, your friendly neighborhood millennial, and I make lifestyle content that chronicles my everyday life. And if that's something that you're into, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so that you're notified every time I upload a new video. First and foremost, if you hear crunching over there, it's Mr. K. Will. Let's see. Getting his little grub on. But today we're doing a sit-down video because this is something that people have messaged me about on Instagram. It's also something that I've seen present in comments on some of my other videos, and I figured why not sit down, film it. And what are we filming today? We're going to be talking about shipping a dog from the US to South Africa. Let's get started. This is going to be real casual because you guys know that when it comes to my sit-down videos, I try to mainly just deliver information. This isn't a regular vlog or anything, so I will be kind of reading off my notes, off of my computer, just so that I can have the correct information. And I can also tell you the company that we used to ship our dog from the US to South Africa. So let's kind of back up a little bit, right? Because there's a couple of preliminary things that you need to do. And if you've seen my shipping video, I'll put it up in the cards and I'll also link it down below. Then you'll understand that there's a little bit of administrative work that needs to be done before you actually contact shipping companies and get everything started to ship your pet to South Africa. So the first thing that you want to consider is what your budget is. Okay, before you get into the administrative stuff for the dog or the animal or whatever that you want to ship over here, you need to consider your budget because it is not cheap shipping a dog from the US to South Africa. When I talk to shipping companies, and I'll get into that in a minute, one of the things that they told me is that South Africa is one of the hardest countries to ship a dog to because of some of the rules and regulations and things like that. And it's also quite far from the US, right? So it's quite a journey. It's quite an impact on the animal. So they want to ensure that you're sure about this decision and that their animal is going to be in the best care possible. So you need to consider your budget. Now, if you guys have been a part of the internet fam for a while, then you know that originally our plan was to ship several animals here because we knew that once we secured property here that we were going to be here for a little bit trying to get everything set up. When you're purchasing property in another country, you're going to be spending a lot of time in that country. And so if you're people like us that go back and forth, for various reasons, then you're probably going to want your poochie poo or your little Kit Kat or something to be with you in that country. And so because for us, our animals at the time were getting up in age, like 10 plus years, we knew that we wanted to have them around because at some point they were probably going to leave this earth, and we wanted to make sure that even while we were getting things set up here that they were with us and everything. And animals are emotional too. They completely are impacted when there's distance between you and them, right? And I'll get into that too, just to kind of talk about our experience with our dog. So the original plan for us was to ship, I'll get back into like the process and everything, and I'll kind of interject with some personal experiences here. But for us, the original plan was to ship 2 dogs, a German Shepherd, a Rhodesian Ridgeback, and a domestic cat. We had to consider the budget for all of that, and obviously you'll get into that once you start researching and putting in quotes for shipping companies. So sadly for us, we ended up only shipping 1 pet, which cost-wise, it was the best thing just because we were, given the situation, we were kind of forced to only ship 1 pet. So our Rhodesian Ridgeback, if you've been around for a while, had passed away in 2023. Our cat, we ended up rehoming because his life in the States, it wasn't horrible, right? He had his own room, you guys knew that, and all of that, right? He had his own space and everything, but he was kind of confined to that space and like spaces around that room because he didn't really gel with the German Shepherd. So we kind of had to keep them separate. So he didn't necessarily have the best quality of life. And so we thought the best decision for him was to rehome him, and we rehomed him with a really lovely family that loves cats and really cute kids and everything. So, and he took to them really well, so it was a really good transition for him. So once you kind of consider your budget and just who you want to skedaddle out of the States and here, then you can start doing your research, right? Do your research on different shipping companies, very similar to what I advise when you're looking for a shipping company to ship your physical belongings. Same kind of concept applies here. You want to research reputable companies, okay? Say with me. You want to research reputable companies. Look on all sorts of review sites, look on the company's site, if there are any sort of testimonials, people that have shipped pets from the US to South Africa, reach out to them. All of that kind of stuff is what you want to do when you're researching these companies and putting in quotes, okay? And it becomes very important because these people are going to be handling your babies, okay? And you don't want to just put them in the hands of anybody. You want to make sure that they are put in the hands of someone who's trusted, who's reputable, and who has just the know-how, especially between things that they need to get done in the States and then the things that need to get done in compliance for South Africa. One of the things that you want to ensure, especially as you are submitting quotes and getting ready to have conversations with these shipping companies, is the height and length of your animal, regardless of what type of animal and regardless of how many animals you intend on shipping to South Africa. If for some reason, if you hear the clicking, you guys know we've got an ice maker. It's kind of hot and we need ice on lock. Okay, but anyways, back to the animals. So because they specialize in pet relocation, if for some reason you're not able to get those measurements, they should be able to have a general idea of the size and the weight and everything of this animal, right? So like we shipped a German Shepherd, a very, very popular dog in the States and just kind of worldwide. So they should have a general idea of how, long or how tall this dog should be. And the reason for that is because of the crate. And I'll get into kind of the rules and regulations and everything like that, further in the process, but that's the main reason why you need to know the measurements of your animals. When it came to the budget, I'm trying to think. Now it's been a while since we've had these conversations with people, like about a year or two. So it's been a lot. But one thing that you need to consider as well when it comes to your budget, and I don't want to forget this, is what type of service do you want? So a lot of these pet relocation services will have a tiered system when it comes to how much you pay. Like bottom of the barrel is basically like, okay, you just have a handler that deals with your dog once you get them to the airport, but you have to basically do everything. Take them to the vet for their pets, for their tests, take them to the airport, pick them up from the airport. It's really just bottom of the barrel is like you paid virtually nothing kind of for them to just like take your dog, travel with your dog, and then you take care of everything before and after the airport. You'll have a mid-tier, which is what we did. So you take care of all of the tests, right? You take them to the vet for all of their tests, get all the paperwork, all the documents that are needed, and they pick your dog up from your house, and then we'll travel with them and then drop them off at your house, wherever your final destination is. Or you can have a top tier, which means they take care of everything. So they'll pick up the kid. I mean, they're practically babies, but they'll pick up the pet and take them to their tests. The cost of the tests and all the documents and everything that need to be drawn up for this shipment is taken care of. Obviously, they'll pick up the animals, take care of all the things that you need that's compliant to make sure that they are good to go as far as flying and entering the country. And then of course they'll drop off at the house. I want to tell you exactly how much. Okay, our entire cost for their service, not for the tests, but for the service, was $5,556. Now you guys know that Maya had passed away here shortly after she got here. And I know some people would be like, oh my gosh, like you should have just kept her in the States, and had somebody handle her or whatever. But this dog was like my boo's dog, and they had been together for like 10 years, so that wasn't gonna happen. That wasn't gonna happen, and I'm really glad that she got to spend a little bit of time over here, because it was probably the happiest that she'd been in life, in her entire life, I think. Now I was only in her life for like a little less than half of it, but she was definitely very, very happy when she got here. Glad that she was able to kind of live out her final days here, and with my boo, who was like, they were like this, best friends. So the cost was $5,556. Is that money missed? Absolutely not. If you guys, I wish that like people could have met her and interacted with her, because she was the sweetest, most gentle, just like loving dog. Don't piss her off, because she was a German Shepherd, so she was like, ah, 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 ah. But she was the sweetest, most loving dog, the most well-behaved dog I've ever seen in my life. She was just a big fluff ball of love, and she's like sorely missed. Like we think about her all the time. Yeah, like towards the end of her days, she was starting to warm up to cray cray, and it was pretty tough, you know, her passing away and everything. But I'm really glad that she was able to live out her final days here. So I'll get into the tests and everything because there are very specific tests that are required when it comes to South Africa. I'll get to those in a second because I want to make sure that I have all of the tests written down, and I want to put them on the screen. So you already know how much we paid for the service. The company that we use, because I don't think I mentioned the company, was Starwood Pet Travel Services. They were great. They were very communicative. They were very nice, you know, because they're dealing with animals, and these people love animals. Like, you can tell in the way that they talk about animals, like, oh, your fur baby, your fur baby, your baby, your baby. It's almost as if you're shipping, you know, your most prized possession to another country. So I felt very comfortable speaking to them. I was in contact with, I believe, 3 companies. The other 2 companies, I can't really remember their names. I'll put them on the screen if I can find them in the sea of emails. These guys, for what we were looking for, and just kind of according to our budget, were the most budget friendly. But we still felt like that she was going to get a level of care that we were kind of expecting with the tier kind of pricing scale that we had chosen. The other people, it was like for the same service was like twice the amount, right? It was like 11 to 12, 13,000 for one animal. And we're just like, but you're doing the same exact thing. Why is it costing so much? Now, these people were really great. They were sending links left and right. It was wonderful. Like, and because we had traveled before her and it was different time zones and everything, they just really made it easy. We didn't even pay for the premium service, and I felt like we still got top tier service from this company. So if you're anybody who absolutely has to have your poochie poo or your little Kit Kat or your lizard or whatever animal here in South Africa with you, I would definitely recommend them because they were a very, very good company to work with. If you are traveling to the UK, or if you're traveling to Europe, or if you're traveling to Australia, or, you know, to Canada or Africa or whatever, they basically have an article for each of those countries and what's required. I'll make sure that I leave the link for them below and all of that, because they had a lot of great information on their website, just very easy to get to. I'm just gonna kind of read this because I wanna make sure that I have it right. So as soon as they kind of give you a coordinator, right, someone who's going to basically be working with you through the entire process, they will basically tell you this is what's required for your pet to be in compliance with not only traveling via in the airline, also being able to enter the country. Because the last thing that you want to deal with is your poochie poo not being able to enter the country because some sort of compliances weren't met, right? So that's why I felt like this website was really great and this company was really great. And I'm sure there are other companies that are awesome too, but this is who we went with, so obviously I can only talk through my experience with them. But they have an entire like repository of places that they will actually ship to, and then a separate article for each destination so that you know what's required. So it says, you know, moving pets to South Africa can be quite complicated, especially if you have a dog. We've outlined the requirements below, and you can also view them on the USDA website. USDA will come in play here soon. Cats and dogs traveling to South Africa require an import permit that could take a couple of weeks to be approved and receive a copy from the South African government. Now, this is where the stress started, and it was crazy. So all the compliances that and the tests and the documents that we needed were insane. But because they're required for South Africa, for them to be able to enter the country, you're gonna do it. You're gonna go through it, right? And this is why I'm like, if you have the ability to just keep your pet in the US and you don't necessarily need them there with you, save your money, save your stress, save the heartache, save the effort, and just have them stay with a loved one to live out the rest of their lives there, or visit often if you have the budget to do that. If not, you know, you're gonna have to go through this. So they need to have an import permit, which basically is like, okay, they are in compliance with being able to get into the country. This is a document proving that. And there's also a link for that. I will provide all this information in there. There's a ton of information, so I would advise you that if this is something that you're really interested in, just check out those links. They have a lot of information on it, but they have a link to the requirements for South Africa on their website too. So I'll make sure I include all the links below. But for dogs, as far as vaccinations, they have to be vaccinated for rabies at least 30 days, but less than 12 months prior to export. The following general vaccinations are not mandatory, but are strongly recommended, which is distemper, hepatitis, parainfluenza, and paravirus, the Bordetella / kennel cough vaccination, canine influenza virus, and leptospirosis. I don't know what none of that is, but she got her vaccinations for all this stuff. So, and she had already had some of them anyway, and they were within the time frame, so we were pretty good. We didn't have to do anything. They have something for cats, but because we didn't ship the cat over here, I won't talk about that. Now, blood tests. So your pet is going to go to the vet a couple of times. I'm trying to think of how many times Maya went to the vet. I want to say upwards of like 4 or 5 times she went to the vet. And that was to get blood work done, obviously to get like anything updated if she needed to get, I don't think she had to get rabies updated at that time, just to make sure everything was okay, that she had all the proper blood tests and vaccinations done and up to date. So the blood tests, these are specifically required for South Africa. Dogs traveling to South Africa require several blood tests with very explicit instructions. It's very important that vets request the correct tests and send them to approved laboratories. Guys, when I tell you that this is where, if you have the budget to pay for like premium service or pet relocation service, do it, because trying to manage, especially if you're not there, I think that's also what kind of added stress, especially for us, to this whole situation, was that we were in 2 different countries. Just have them handle the tests and the appointments. So there were blood tests that need to be taken to different countries, different places in the States, and then different countries. There were blood tests, I think, that need to be taken to Germany, and then I think there might have been a blood test that was taken to South Africa, but I'm not sure. But it's really, because they're such specific blood tests, not every lab around the country or not every lab around the world is going to be able to administer the tests on the blood samples. So you have to make sure that you're ordering the correct test, you meaning the vet is ordering the correct test, and that they're sending them to the right lab that will actually be able to perform the tests on the blood samples. Stress, okay? Stress. But once you get your poochie poo, it's totally worth it. So the blood tests I will put on the screen just because I don't want to mess up the names. But there are quite a few. There are 5 different blood tests that are done. Belgium, okay, that's where the test went to. It went to Belgium, not Germany. There's so much paperwork and there's so many tests that need to be done, it's insane. There are parasite treatments that need to be done, so like heartworm and the flea and tick, like repellent type stuff, you know, like the flea collars or the pills or whatever. You have to make sure that they've gotten those things done, or that those treatments have been administered, and you can't have them be administered, I think, more than like 30 days within travel. And then you have to get a health certificate within 10 days of travel, right? And it has to be endorsed by the USDA. And then obviously you want to send them a photo of your poochie poo so they know who they're going to be managing and everything. Okay, so we've talked about researching companies, knowing the kind of administrative things that are important and need to be in place so that when you have your conversations with these companies, you have the information on hand. We've talked about the tests, the very complex tests that need to be done to ensure that your pet is in compliance with South Africa rules as far as the tests and things that they are testing for and the like. One thing I want to comment on when it comes to the tests is that most of the tests that are being done on these animals are not for things that are even present in the States, right? They're things that they're testing for that are typically present in South Africa. So while yes, these tests you may be unfamiliar with, they're still required, obviously, because you need to be in compliance with the rules of the country that the animal is entering, which in this case, of course, is South Africa. The most stressful thing about this entire process was when it came to the USDA endorsement. And I'll put on the screen like what that entails because I don't really remember the details right now. But if you are traveling 5 days before, after your pet arrives into the country and they travel through Europe specifically to get to South Africa, then you have to get an endorsement from the USDA within 48 hours of travel. And when you're not in the same time zone, you're not in the same country that your dog is in, it can be really dicey because if you don't get that endorsement within 48 hours, you have to start the process of all these tests and everything all over again. And if you've been through it before, you don't want to have to go through it again. So you want to make sure that you get that endorsement within those 48 hours. Okay, so I think that is pretty much it. So once you've had all of the tests done and everything comes back negative, which typically, because those things aren't present in the States, they should be negative. And you have all of your documents, your import permit, your health certificate, your endorsement, the test results, your compliant kennel, and I'll put up some photos. If I can find them, I will put them up, of photos Maya in the kennel, because we had to send photos of her in the kennel so that they knew that she had enough room to like turn around in, to sleep, to stretch out, all that kind of stuff while in transit, because obviously that was going to be her home for like 24 hours. So once you have all of the things settled, your pet will go for a final appointment to just ensure that everything is okay, just kind of final arrangements for travel. By that point, the flight has already been secured. Obviously, endorsement has already been sealed, signed, and delivered. Then it's basically time for you to just prepare for your poochie poo or your kitty cat to make its way to South Africa. She got here like in the evening, like the sun had been down, like it was dark when she got here. It was like the most heartwarming thing, and I had put that in the vlogs, but I'll try to find the footage and put it back in. It was just so wonderful because that entire 6 months we were dealing with so much stress in addition to trying to get her over here. And so being able to kind of close one chapter of something so that we could kind of concentrate on other things was just a very relieving thing. And it was just nice to see my partner being reunited with his best friend, And you guys, if you've been part of the fam for a while, you know that she did pass away shortly after she got here. She got here in September. She had passed away in January, I think. She had to be put down because she had heart failure. That's it. I probably rambled so much. It's probably so disorganized, but you guys know, like, that's just kind of my brand at this point. I'm trying to become more refined with my channel and whatnot, and I'm hoping to do that in the coming year. If there are any questions, or if there are anything that you guys feel like I missed, or if you guys have gone through Starwood Pet, or if you've gone through kind of a similar process with shipping a pet from the States to South Africa, and there might be some discrepancies here and there, just let me know. You guys know I don't really get offended by anything. So, just put that down in the comments, and then we can kind of chat about it in the chat. I think that's pretty much it. I will link Starwood Pet below so that if any of you are interested in shipping your pet from the States specifically to South Africa, or even if you're someone who has watched my channel and just lives in the States and maybe trying to relocate to other countries, Starwood Pet I would still recommend, because they do have a couple of destinations that they have shipped pets out to. I'll put the link to the website, and then I'll put the link to the destinations that they cover, so that if you're somebody who is coming to South Africa specifically, or any one of the destinations that's on that list, you'll have that information, and then you can start the process in shipping your pet. But thanks for hanging out with me this week. Thanks for hanging out with me in this video and hearing me ramble about pooches and little kitty cat. I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.